Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Bruce.
Lionel.
Bruce.
Lionel.
Do you know if this is the first podcast since the last podcast?
I would bet a good buck or 3 or 4 on it.
Yeah, but don't we need to be definite? Don't we need to be?
That's why I'm betting a buck 3 or 4 on it.
Oh, okay. Man, you don't fool around.
No, I'm going all out, man.
Gordy.
Aye.
So, Gordy, we decided tonight that we're doing this podcast earlier so that before you go to bed.
Cool. That's why it's 12 at night. That's fine.
Well, it's before you're going to bed, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. So tonight we got it's Bruce, the moderately agitated mail boy.
That's me.
We got Gordy, the NMRA president that keeps taking a beating from he's the guy I beat like a rented mule, like a redheaded stepchild.
Aye. Aye. If I'm not careful, I'll get killed.
Yeah, there you go. So, Gordy, what's new in the NMRA?
Oh, loads is new in the NMRA. The coolest news in the NMRA is this digital magazine. So, I think that's what we need to talk about.
All right. Well, we can. But have you ever listened to the podcast?
Yeah, we've got to meander off in the 500 different directions first.
We got to do the preamble. We got to warm up the audience. That's what we're doing before we bring our.
Well, okay, we can have a bit more of a brief of what news there is. So Gordy's going to be at the Indie Junction event, which people should register for. That's the Tri-Regional Convention with the RPM guys in Indianapolis in May 18th through the 22nd. It's a 4-day convention. So I'll be there. It's going to be loads of opportunities to talk to me, meet with me. I think we're even organising people can have a coffee with me if they want, what I'm like. So that's the biggest piece of news. Then also we've got the old copies of the NMRA bulletins are now available for members at online at the NMRA website. So you go nmra.org/digital magazine and you'll get to all of those old copies.
Time out. You got all the old bulletins available online?
Yeah, so we're scanning them as we go, but basically the team's got the 1930s and 1940s, 50s, 70s and 2000s, some of the early 2000s on there. We're missing the 1960s, 1980s, 1990s, but there's obviously volunteers and all that. So,
on that subject, Gordy, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Make it easy to try to find it on the website, because you go there looking for it and not knowing where it is, you're going to stumble around and never find it.
Yeah,
it's very convoluted and not easy. Like, to me, that should be like front page news. Oh, right here, click here, and boom, there you go.
By the time this podcast airs, it will be. It's just that it's there. It's just gone out. So. It's a really, really good resource. So we made that available free for our members. We're also working on a new project that's called the NMRA Interchange, and that's the new communications platform for NMRA members and divisions and regions, and that will be launching in the summer at the National Train Show in St. Louis. And yeah, there's lots of good positive change happening, lots of digitization and all the usual stuff, and it's nice. People are getting back to in-person meetings, and the president's still randomly turning up at division meetings online while they remain virtual. So people need to watch out. You never know where I'm going to show up. But
you know what? Let's do just to see if anything you've said is even remotely important. Let's do a man on the street interview, and we'll just pick the first guy we find. We'll go out the studio door and we'll pick the first guy we find. Sir, sir, I see you're on your name badge. Your name is Riley Triggs.
Yeah, that's my name.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the NMRA?
I've heard it in passing somewhere, yes.
Okay. We have a new president. Have you ever thought about volunteering with him?
Well, he is doing some really interesting things, so it's not out of the question.
Do you know anything about this bulletin thing?
Well, I have heard that all the back issues have been scanned and they're just kind of ready to go up on the website. I know the bulletin has a lot of really good information going way back to the 30s.
Hey, Bruce.
Okay, Lionel. Didn't we already do this part?
No, this is a different part.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This is the Hey Lionel, Hey Bruce part later in the show. This guy seems pretty interesting. Why don't we interview him and see what he's got to say for himself?
Sounds like a plan.
Mr. Triggs, please take a seat.
Thank you very much.
So do you know Mr. Robinson here?
Yes, I do. I've had the pleasure of meeting him once or twice.
How long have you been a member of the NMRA?
Oh gosh, I'd have to look at my my membership card, but it goes back to I don't know, the 1990s, probably early 90s. Little break in between, and then starting up again probably 5 or 10 years ago.
Okay, and so let's quit fooling, Bruce, Gordy.
Yes.
Let's quit fooling around now and tell everybody who Riley is.
Okay, so Riley is the head of publications at the NMRA.
The head?
And as the head, he is the department head for publications, of which the NMRA Magazine is one of our publications. We do books as well, and all of our standards and conformance information. But Riley has been working on our digital publications project, coming on board last July, and he's been the real driving force behind a lot of the work that's been getting done here. So,
Riley, you got to move that microphone out a little bit more from your nose. You know what?
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I can tell exactly. Yeah. You're breathing heavy.
Those stairs are steep, man. I mean,
yeah.
Did we have to get a studio in the penthouse?
Yeah.
Well, I did just get off my my stationary bicycle, so I'm still breathing a little heavily.
Okay. How many miles did you do?
It was only about 10 miles today.
All right. Well, look at you. I'm lucky to do 3.
I always think that's got to be hard. It's got to be hard doing 10 miles on a bike with no wheels, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there isn't. Yeah, well, it depends on what you do. You can even get your own bike. You can get your regular summer bike, riding around bike. You can get a thing for it too. I got one of those for my bike, and you can just ride it right there in your basement, right there in front of the TV.
So, what does the wife think of the Harley in the living room? Then?
Yeah, not that bike. Yeah, should I tell? Hey, Bruce, should I tell my?
I was just you got a story about one of those, don't you?
There is a thing called.
It's time now for story time. With
yeah, there's a
thing.
They now have these really cool stands where you hook your rear wheel to this really cool stand, and depending on how much money you spend, you can have like a whole screen in front of you, or you can just have it where it just you rely on the bike to tell you just like it does in the summer. Or it's just it goes from very, very basic to extraordinarily fancy. But before that, the way everybody used to ride their bikes pretty much standard in their house was on these things called rollers. And you put each wheel in these rollers and you start pedaling. And eventually you get pretty good at it and you can keep the bike up. And it's just like riding down the street. It took me a while, but eventually a few years ago, I did get the hang of it. And I was able to pedal the bike right there in the house on these rollers. So you're just on these rollers pedaling along, keeping your balance. And I got kind of cocky and I thought, you know what? I'll just reach over here for the channel changer on the TV and just between periods of the hockey game, I'll see what else is on, see what's on CNN. And as I reached over, the last thing I remember was reaching over for the channel change. And the next thing I knew, somehow I was on the ground up against the wall. And I just missed the TV. The thing came off the rollers, and away I went. Down, I went that 10 feet, and man, I was moving too. Made quite a dent in the wall. So that's my riding my bike inside story. The last time I told it, I think I got a better reaction.
I'm just wondering if it's safer for you to be on the streets or in your house when you're doing that.
There is no safe spot for Lionel.
Yeah, that's right. There is no safe spot for me. There's no safe spot for me. Okay, Riley. So how long have you been involved with the digital magazine?
So,
or the publications department. You're the head of the publications department.
Head of the publications department. Yes. It seems like I just sat down. It was last July. And suddenly I found myself tasked with taking us digital, within the year. And now April 1st is our deadline. So, it's been a pretty whirlwind experience so far. Really haven't had a chance to settle in or anything. It's just been work. And Gordy's a real taskmaster. He doesn't take no for an answer, and he makes sure that people are getting things done.
So how did Gordy find you?
Well, I don't know. Gordy, how did you find me?
I could tell you, but I would have to kill you. Gordy put out some feelers for good people, and also went and looked at what regions we're doing, and I picked up Riley out of the LSR, where Riley's been working on digitizing the LSR's magazine.
The Lone Star region. The Lone Star region.
The Lone Star region, yeah, exactly. So I suppose that's the advantage of having a president that's fishing from across the pond for people to bring into the organisation. I look far and wide rather than looking in my own backyard, so to speak, because if I did that, I'd get my feet wet. So, it was great to find Riley.
Well, it's got to be a little bit more to it than that. Than you just like, what were you doing? Looking at each region's website or something, and trying to it's got to be more to it than that.
Well, I don't know what. I do that quite a lot of that.
Is it a secret that Riley's in charge of the publications department? Because
absolutely, it's not. This isn't a secret. So yeah, I do. It's just coming out as how sad Gordy is. I spend a lot of my time reading divisions and regions publications because it's really important to understand what's going on in the shop floor. So genuinely, I do that, and then with a few people that I put a few feelers out to ask for names and stuff, and Riley's name came up, and somebody said a couple of MMRs said to me, Riley would be a really good guy for you to talk to and to bring on board. And first time, as soon as I spoke to Riley, I knew this was the right guy to bring on and lead the modernization of our publications department, which up until now has never done a digital publication. But of course, Riley's got that skill set, and that's exactly the skill set we need. And also, Riley's a doer, and that was also what we needed. The days of it being acceptable in the organization to sit on your backside and do nothing. They left last July. So
yeah, I got a feeling that if you get sucked up in that vacuum, you're going to be dragged along pretty quick. So okay, Riley, from your end, what was it like? Did you get an email or something or?
Yeah, it was all electronic communication, of course. That's the age we live in, and I think the first meeting was probably the first board meeting where Gordy was installed as president, and we started from there. But for the Lone Star region, I had done the marker lamp, which I'm still the editor of the marker lamp, and produce that every 3 months. We started doing that digitally about 7 years ago, and it was for some of the same reasons, ease of distribution and the cost of printing and things like that. And we just decided to take it from a paper publication to digital. And we had, all the same sort of concerns and questions and looking at different ways of doing it and not wanting to piss off anybody. And it turned out we did it, and like nobody said a word. Everybody was like, "This is great, like no big deal." So kind of armed with that knowledge, I knew that there was going to be a lot of worry, and anything new is going to dredge up some probably not so nice comments and things like that. But so far, everybody's been really positive, and I think when they see the final product, everybody's going to be really happy that here's a nice addition to our publication.
Okay, for years we've been told there would absolutely positively never ever be a digital publication for the NMRA because it just didn't pencil out, where the phrase used quite often. What made you and Gordy figure out that this was actually a doable thing? And obviously we come to the point now it's available. But what it was just the change in mindset, or the fact that people comfortable with technology are now embracing the technology? What was the big key?
I'll jump in, and then I'll let Riley fill in the rest of the story. So this really started back in November 2020. Due to illness, the incumbent at-large worldwide director needed to step down, and I was appointed by the previous president, Pete Magoon, into that role. And at the winter board meeting in 2021, which was held virtually, myself and Mike Arnold, the Atlantic District Director, pushed very hard that this question needed to be re-examined in light of the pandemic and changing in attitudes towards technology and the availability of technology. The question needed to be re-examined, and it was put forward that we invite the incumbent publisher to talk to us about digital publishing, because they do some digital publishing, that being White River Publications, and me and Mike Arnold strongly advocated that we also invite some other digital publishers. So Joe Fugate and a publisher from a regional magazine, an NMRA regional magazine, not Riley, somebody else, came in and gave presentations to the directors in the spring of last year, and it became very it's not so much the how can it be done, but certainly the can it be done was answered, and yes, the answer strongly was, can it be done? We slipped out a survey about NMRA at the time, and we slipped on some questions about digital publishing, which came back and showed that the previous survey that was done however long ago, the attitudes had started to change, and that there was more appetite across the members that had completed that survey, that they wanted a digital publication. And so I was keen that we needed to do consultation. The directors at the summer board meeting supported us going into a period of consultation, having done the period of discovery with the other publishers and had all that fed back, which Riley, to his credit, had to sit through 4 or 5 hours of recorded meetings with the other publishers when he came on board, because he wasn't in the team at that point. And so we basically then went into consultation phase. So very quickly, Riley was able to put together a prototype, which we can talk more about that, which we've sent out to members, because even if it was, I knew it was the absolute minimum thing we could do, but I am not a believer in selling vaporware, and that term means something that may exist in the future but doesn't exist today, because I don't think that's it's going to get you fair feedback. So we produced a prototype that was the absolute basics of what we could do. We shared that with members along with a survey through SurveyMonkey. We had a significant number of members. I think it was nearly 20% of the membership respond to that survey, which is fantastic. And there was strong advocates for a digital magazine, in addition to a print magazine or on its own. There was lots of feedback that people didn't like the format, and they told us about how they would like to format it, which led us to, ultimately it enabled us to say, yes, we want a digital magazine, and the members want a digital magazine, but it also helped us then start to steer what the future products would be. And so we were able to take that we were able to go away then and look at costings, which we brought to the board in a special board meeting that I called in December, because I didn't believe it was a viable option to hang that out to the next scheduled meeting, which would have been February. And at that meeting, we presented the costs to the directors. We presented a proposal to make the magazine digitally available to everybody, because making it available on a subscription basis just doesn't work. And it would mean, yes, it would mean an increase in price of membership for some, but for the majority, 75% of members in the United States take the print magazine today with their NMRA membership and pay $82. They would pay $68. So it was a saving, which is, everyone was saying digital should save us money. Well, yes, it does. There you go. You've saved money. It's gone from 82 to 68. So yeah, and that's how we came to the decision, Bruce. We analysed different models to pay for it. We weren't able to put those in front of members, because really it's a director decision around setting budgets. But we were able to ask some questions that informed that decision. And so it's like anything. It was a case of answer the question, can this be done? Answer the question, should it be done? And answer the question, is it what people want? And we answered. The answer was yes to all of those questions, and that leads us to where we are. And, Riley's produced all the prototypes and everything. So maybe Riley wants to come in.
So
okay, can I just hop on one more thing before we go and talk about Riley?
we're going to be talking.
We're going to be talking.
We're going to be talking. Huh? There's like 1,000 questions.
Oh yeah, you brought up the fact that 75% of the U.S. members get the magazine.
Yes.
The British region Canada, and Australian regions. They're different animals. How are they being handled in this one?
Can we get? Can we save that to later in the discussion? Can we cover the learning the getting to know Riley and getting to know the guy, and then we'll discuss about different regions? Are you okay with that, Bruce?
Sure.
Okay. Because I think that'll lead us down to a different discussion. And first and foremost, for some reason or other, these two guys are being very evasive about how they ended up meeting each other. I'm assuming at some point Riley was standing outside the AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play in Arlington, Texas, and Gordy was walking around and saying, "Anybody here can do a digital magazine," or something like that. Like it's got to be. Yeah,
that's a better story. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it went down. No, honestly,
hang on a minute, Riley. Can you talk?
Well, yeah, but the true story involved the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and I don't think we can really get into that. I think maybe there's some sensitive ears out there, but there's a little bit more to the story. But essentially, that was it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So seriously, though, you guys, there must be a way that Gordy found you. You're like, okay, you what's the magazine for the Lone Star region called?
It is called the Marker Lamp.
Okay, so for 7 years you've been doing the Marker Lamp. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 7 years.
It's not the questions will get easier as we go along.
Okay.
So you were already involved in being a volunteer for the NMRA. You were already
yes.
You already enjoyed being part of the NMRA. You enjoyed being involved.
Yes.
You enjoyed giving your time to the NMRA. So somehow, somewhere, and because I think to further Bruce's question, this has been such a roadblock for the NMRA that it absolutely could not be done, will not be done. We will stick with paper copies of the magazine until well into the next century. How did you two guys find each other? I want a straight answer. Somebody must have introduced you to each other. Riley?
Oh yeah, so yeah.
Riley?
I can answer that. I don't mind saying who it was that introduced us.
Who was it?
So it was the Mike Mackey MMR, who is the division super for Division 1, the cowcatcher division of the LSR, and I was going to their meetings through COVID, attending their division meeting virtually, and also the Division 3 of the LSR, and I spoke to not just to Mike, but I spoke to other people as well, and a lot of names got thrown at me, but Mike said, you really need to talk to Riley. So that was where that came from. But I was aware of what the work Riley's done with the Marker Lamp because I read it. So
right, because you read pretty much every region's. You read every region.
I try.
You do, yeah, I know exactly. So okay, Riley, how did you feel like you were being? Did you feel like when you first started talking to Gordy, you were like excited, like, wow, we got a young guy here and he actually does want to move forward with this? Like, you must have felt like you're going to have a lot of support, because you wouldn't want to take on a job like this kind of blindly.
Right. And, I had known Gordy's work through the NMRA X stuff that he was putting on. I was talking to the guys up in Dallas, Fort Worth, where Mike is and where Speed, our IT manager now for the NMRA, is. And they were speaking so highly of Gordy and how Gordy could just get stuff done, and what a great guy he was and how nice he was to work with. And so I'd heard all of this before this was even like a possibility. And so when the call came, it was pretty easy. And quite frankly, I probably would not have said yes to anybody else. It takes a while for things to change in the NMRA. And I've seen this as a real opportunity for real change and for real good progress in the organization. So I wanted to be a part of it. Yeah. I didn't think twice. I said, yeah, I'll jump on board. Of course, stuff is going to happen because I've seen what Gordy's done already. So it really is. I mean, it's a personality thing. If it weren't for his personality, I would not have gotten involved.
Exactly. Yeah. You were excited about his enthusiasm for the NMRA.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And that's what I've been waiting for a long time. That's the way people want to engage with something. They want to have that enthusiasm, that energy. Like you said, know that they're going to be supported and backed up and even pushed. That's actually a good thing to be pushed. You don't get things done without deadlines, and you don't get things done without somebody wanting you to do them. So all of those factors I could see were already in place, and it was really a no-brainer. I mean, I didn't have to think about it at all.
So, but you must have known of for years and years and years there was absolutely complete opposition to having a digital magazine. So, like, what was the first meeting between you and Gordy? Like, were the two of you just like a couple of schoolgirls going, "We're going to do this, come hell or high water," or like, do you have a committee to do this with, or was it just you, or?
Well, so far it's been just me, but there's help from other staff, from Christina in marketing and Speed and IT and Jenny at HQ and Frank and, even Rick, vice president, and then Gordy. We're all part of a work group that's been working on this since last July, and we're meeting, every week or two on this. But, what started it was I stopped taking the magazine myself, and it was because it was in paper. They were piling up in my house, along with, model railroaders and model rail craftsmen and, all the other publications were just kind of piling up. And it was hard to find things. I couldn't just go like look for an article on how to do, oil cans or whatever. And it just became a burden. And so I stopped subscribing simply because it was a paper object. And I had been a subscriber of Model Railroader through their digital venue for quite a while, and then taking our own regional publication digital. That's the lifestyle now. I don't sit around on my couch reading magazines because I don't sit around on my couch anymore. I read my modeling magazines on the road. I do it at the stoplight while I'm driving home. I do it in the airports. I do it in bed at night, and the page turning doesn't wake my wife. It's a different lifestyle now. And so it was it was a no brainer. And
how long are these stoplights?
They're pretty long in Austin. I don't know if you knew that, but Austin has like the fourth worst traffic in the country.
Okay.
So you can go through a couple of cycles, and you can get pretty well through an article if you want to.
Okay. You don't own a Tesla, do you?
I do not, but okay. They're in town now. Their headquarters moved here.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to know if you were an electric car guy, and I was thinking, oh my goodness.
I will be soon, but it probably won't be a Tesla. It'll probably be a Mini or something.
Okay, yeah. Well, don't get too excited because electric cars aren't going to last. So just hang on.
Okay.
Yeah. Although all the gas-powered cars will be in my garage if they finally get to that point. I think I made a statement there, didn't I? I guess I did without thinking about it. So, okay, do you have it? Are you self-taught? Are you in this business, or like how did you get interested in becoming a guy that made the regional newsletter a digital publication?
Well, I probably had no choice looking at my background. I grew up in a household of very creative people. My mother built doll houses and doll furniture and miniature items like that. My dad was a graphic designer and artist. And so growing up in this household, on Sundays, he was a teacher as well. He taught graphic design at the University of Texas here in Austin, a program which I later taught in. But he would bring home student work on the weekends. And so Sunday afternoon, we would sit around and I would help him grade student work. And so what a great learning opportunity, on top of just being able to spend time with dad sort of thing.
Sure.
But, starting at an early age, I mean, this was like 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking you were going for. Yeah, there is an 8-year-old Riley, 9-year-old Riley, grading determining some guy's future by the grade he gets.
Exactly. And then, during the summers when I got a couple of years older, I started working with him at his design studio. He was a one-man shop. And so I would, I don't know if you know anything about graphic design, but it used to be all manual, of course.
Yeah.
So I would do pen and ink drawings for him. I would proof galley sheets. In fact, for a while, I worked for a typesetters here in town, proofing lead type galley sheets. So this has really been in my blood. And then, of course, when I went to school, I went to architecture school, but I still took some graphic design classes and art classes, etc.
So a minute ago, you just said you're not sure if I knew about something there, graphic design or something or whatever. And you'd be best going forward with this podcast or this particular interview. You'd be best to think of me as your dim-witted brother.
Okay.
Because I don't really know anything.
Okay. Well,
Can I ask a question?
yeah. Uh-huh.
When do we get to the something about digital magazines?
Well, starting off in school, this was back in the 1980s, back in the last century, and computers were first being introduced into graphic design and architectural design. And so, from the very beginning, I was using a computer. My dad got one, and the 8088 machine, and so I grew up on Adobe products and PageMaker and all the things used for digital publishing. So really, since the 1980s, I've been dabbling in this both professionally and personally.
So this is kind of cool. So we're meeting somebody. I've often thought about that. I mean, people who are in their mid to late 40s. I mean, really, your entire life has been exposure to the personal computer. I mean, my son's 37, and maybe for his first 10 years he didn't have his own personal computer, but it wasn't too long after that. And so you've been interested in digital publishing pretty much since you were a kid.
Absolutely, and I've done it, for my own clubs. I've done it for clients. I've worked on regional publications in print, in the 80s and the 90s. So it's all very familiar to me. I'm not somebody who does it every day, but I do it every couple of months.
So this is so knowing digital publishing has been more of a hobby for you rather than a vocation.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And now you've had the chance to do it. Would this be the biggest project you've ever taken on? Like this magazine of this extent? Is this like the biggest project you've ever taken on, or is it just one of many?
Well, it's probably the one with the largest impact and the largest implications. Yes, and I'm not actually producing the magazine. We have Cynthia, who's the editor, and and a team of graphic designers and everything. So I'm not into the weeds on that sort of stuff, but just knowing how publications work is really what's been valuable in converting it into the digital realm.
Right. So you're not making them. You're not the guy, the editor. There's still Cynthia's still the editor. The stories still come in. You get the magazine after it's been put together in a PDF form, I guess, or something like that.
Yes. What we're doing right now is we are taking the exact same PDF that goes to the printer, and we are just converting that into our digital format. And the platform that we use has an automatic process for that. I do have to go through and kind of categorize all the contents manually, but that takes about 30 minutes to do. And then the platform does the rest of the conversion, making it ready for both desktop viewing and handheld mobile devices.
What were you saying to me one time we were talking? We had a brief chat, and you said something about starts with the word Z, and it's a magazine. It's a digital magazine supplier.
It's a distributor. Yes.
Yeah.
It's Xenia. Zinio. And back when we were looking at the possibility of doing this last summer, I went through and I looked at as many digital publishing platforms as I could find, and as many of those that had also model publications, whether it was model railroads or plastic kits or anything like that. And there are several. There's Pocket Mags and Model Rail has their own app. British Rail Modeling has their own app. And so there's still there are already a lot of people in this digital space that were also model railroaders. And Xenia was the one that kept coming up. Model Railroader uses them. And they've got a lot of features. They've got the ability to again have it on desktop or in app form on Apple or Android devices, and it had all the features that we wanted. We wanted to be able to print. We wanted to be able to save to our desktops, have offline viewing. All those things Xenia covers really well. And I knew from personal experience with Model Railroader that it was a great way to deliver a digital publication. And they take care of a lot of that behind the scenes processing, and it makes it really easy on us to be able to just to deliver one PDF, and then most of the rest of the process is fairly automatic.
Wow! I went to Xenia, and it's not too far down on their front page is Model Railroader. So
there you go.
So we're going to be able to go to this Xenia and download the NMRA, or I guess not, because it comes with subscription.
Right. And what we're doing is we're not going through their newsstand like Model Railroader does.
Right.
Since we're a member-based organization, we will have our membership list. We already have our subscribers. So we're not selling subscriptions just to the magazine, to the general public. What we'll do is we'll have our own website with our own URL, and it'll be branded, NMRA Magazine. And all the graphics and everything are being custom done just for our magazine to fit the look and feel of the printed magazine now. And you'll be able to go there, enter in, your information, and you'll have access to all of the NMRA magazine issues dating back to October of 2020 right now is what we're hoping to launch with.
Wow. And when was this launch? This will probably be aired sometime in April or early May. When did this launch occur?
April 1st.
Oh, yeah. Like as in April Fool's?
That's not a joke. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. So it will be in April, and it will be on April 1st. I don't know, Riley, if you want to mention as well, because a lot of people were concerned about Xenia and the way things can be read, and compare that to MRH. I don't know whether you want to talk about the format, the feature with the formatting to make things into portrait and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really geared towards being able to view either on the desktop or on a handheld device. And that's something that I found was huge just in my personal life. Again, I don't spend a lot of time just, sitting on the couch or, sitting in front of my computer when I'm not doing anything else. So being able to view it on your phone or a tablet was really important to us. And so we actually are going to have apps that are available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store that are NMRA apps that allow you.
You can have apps?
Apps, yes.
Oh, man, that's cool. That's cool.
This is going to be a first-class deal. We are doing it right, and we're doing it so it's the most convenient way to enjoy the magazine.
There's going to be an NMRA app.
Yes.
Holy mackerel, Gordy, you landed on your feet with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. I told you. So yeah, there's going to be an NMRA app, and one of the features that's going to be in the app, I think it's on the desktop version as well. But if you want to read an article as it appears, similar to the way articles appear in Model Railroad Hobbyist, so in a vertical format with the text in a single column, then there's a feature of the Xenia product that we've chosen to use, which, as Riley says, is not their newsstand. So it's ever so slightly different from what Model Railroader use, but it's the same thing as what Time Magazine use, and it will allow you to read it like the page of a book in portrait format. So you can read that article, take all of the formatting away with the columns and everything, and read the article like you would read the page of a book. And it's great because it's going to give people the flexibility that they wanted, and we really have listened to the feedback that we've got from members, and said, okay, there's a proportion of members that want to read it, want it to appear like a magazine appears in their hands on the screen. We could do that, and there's a proportion of people that want to be able to see it like that, but then read it like they read Model Railroad Hobbyist, and we're giving people the option to do that. I think we've covered all the bases that people gave us in that initial feedback, and we know there'll be more feedback, and we'll keep feeding that in and improving the product. The product being the digital magazine, the way in which it's delivered. Of course, the NMRA magazine is a good product to start with the work that's done by White River and Cynthia. But so when we talk about delivering the products, me and Riley are talking about delivering the magazine digitally. But yeah, it'll give people whatever option, and you will literally go to the App Store, Play Store, or the Apple, whatever Apple call theirs, the iOS store or whatever, and you'll bash NMRA in, and there will be an app for the NMRA which we can build upon in the future. So
then Bruce, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Could you perhaps, maybe this question will come out rude. I apologize if this question sounds rude. I apologize in advance, Riley and Gordy, if this question sounds rude. After all the years of hearing that this is absolutely impossible and cannot be done, How in the hell did you guys manage to do this in basically like a few months? Like what happened that all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, we couldn't have a digital magazine, and now all of a sudden, poof, pretty much the way I always thought it would be if somebody applied themselves, all of a sudden now we got a digital magazine and an app, an NMRA app. Sure, you can.
Can I take a shot at this?
Sure, take a shot at this.
A year or so ago, we had an election, and a guy named Gordy Robinson was elected as president, and a bunch of other like-minded people were elected in various positions, and they determined that this could be done, and they set forth and did it.
All right, Riley, do you have any sense of how monumental this is for the organization?
I do, and again, that's one of the big reasons why it was a no-brainer to be involved. This shows that things can happen, and that things can happen on a professional pace. We are run by volunteers, and there's some limitations there to time and whatnot. But if we put our minds to it, we can do pretty much anything we want to. And I think this is really going to show that the sky is the limit with the NMRA. And if we can think of something to do, we can, by God, do it.
This is pretty freaking exciting.
Yeah. One thing that's been brought up over the years in the past is, why can't the NMRA put copies of the magazine for sale in hobby shops? And now, seeing it's digital, it'll be even easier to. Is there a reason why we can't do that, or is it something that could be considered?
There's always a reason. There's no physical reason why we can't do that. Other than the digital magazine, the way that we set it up is available to all members. So we haven't built in too much the ability to have subscriptions through it yet.
Okay.
That's not to say that that's not possible in the future, and it's not to say it's not a feature already in the product that we've selected that we've chosen not to switch on. The reason really why the NMRA doesn't put its magazine on newsstands is because we've got a lot of agreements in place within the we've got a lot of agreements in place with the rest of the modelling press where we do reciprocal advertising, and they offer us free space. They'll publish our stuff and they'll work with us quite well, and that's been a relationship for many years, and so that commercial relationship would change if we were to start being on a shelf competing with their products. And realistically, whilst it would bring awareness of the NMRA, we would need to be producing a lot more paper magazines to put them on the shelves in the first place, and then we'd be having to deal with the unsold copies. And also, whilst it would put the NMRA there on a newsstand, so to speak, there's not that many people that actually go into Barnes & Noble and buy magazines anymore. There are still some, I get that. But if they're buying the other magazines and the NMRA's got an advert in them, we've still got that awareness that we're looking for. We're still raising that awareness with adverts for the NMRA in Model Railroad News, and Railroad Model Craftsman and Model Railroader. We're still raising that awareness, so we're still getting that visibility. So it's more of a commercial decision not to do that at this point. Obviously, that's something that's under constant evaluation. It's not the first time that's come up. It's not something that's not been discussed in the last 12 months at national level. But we don't want to get at this point into the world of trying to compete. Although it's $68 with the other stuff that you get for NMRA membership, compared to some of the prices for the digital magazines from other publishers, you could argue that we already are kind of competing in that space. Certainly, it's unavoidable that people will now be able to find the NMRA app, and whilst it's not something that will be available on day one, just because the priority on day one is to deliver minimum requirements set to Riley and team is to deliver a digital magazine. So it won't be in there on day one. It's not out with the realms of possibility that people might be able to join the NMRA through the app in the future. So the app gives us lots of benefits. We hope lots of members will download it, because it will allow us to do comms and all kinds of other stuff. But it's not not out with the realms of possibility that we are effectively putting the NMRA on a newsstand by putting it in the app stores.
Okay, I'll throw something else out. Some organization, and I think I know the layout design SIG is one, and I'm not sure if there's they'll put what they call like a teaser of their electronic publication, which would be 3 or 4 pages. So you might get 3 pages of an article and a couple other things just to give an idea what's there. Is that something you would consider doing with the NMRA magazine? If somebody wants to see you, throw some, you don't give them everything for one, you give them a bit of an idea what it's about, and maybe that would, dangle the bait to get them to join.
So, yeah, so there will be some screenshots in the App Store anyway. Again, not on day one, but I would like to see by the end of the year that there will be some other content on the app, and we may well make one of the magazines available for people to view, to get a sense of the benefit that they're getting. Definitely, but we're looking to put other content onto that app as well around our beginner guides and stuff. So we just revamped the beginner guides and on the NMRA website for education, so that people new to the hobby or people that want to try something that they're not, or that they feel less comfortable with, shall we say? And I would like to see, Gordy, the president, would like to see those going into the app and available to everybody. But we've got to figure out how we deliver that. But that's the kind of thing we'd like to see on there, so people are getting more than just the magazine, but actually getting a shop window into the organisation as well. Because the NMRA is more than a magazine.
So Riley, how long does it take you to get one magazine ready, 1 month ready?
Well, once we get the final PDF from Cynthia, it gets converted into what's called a flat sheet that breaks down all of the articles, and whether it's an editorial article, whether it's an ad, whether it's something that occurs every month, or it's just a feature article. That takes about 30 minutes to manually do and input into a spreadsheet. And then that and the PDF go off to Xenia. And I think they need between 5 and 7 working days in order to convert that into something that can be viewed online through their automatic process. And then, they go through checking it, and then I'll check it to make sure everything was translated properly. And so, within a week from that final PDF being ready for the printer, we can essentially, go to press with that.
So am I hearing you say that it takes you a few hours, 5-6 hours, to go from when you get the PDF to dealing with Xenia and getting it ready and being satisfied with their product and it's ready to be put out there? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a few hours. Yeah, it's probably an hour's worth of work. So it's a really easy process. Again, most of it happens at the Xenia platform and their algorithms, and we've had designers that have made templates that all of this stuff drops into according to how the categories are broken out in the spreadsheet. So yeah, I mean it's a relatively painless process. And
was it your job? Was it your job to suggest Xenia to everybody? Were you the guy they kind of went out and said, "Okay, guys, I think this is the way to go," or was that your job?
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah, I went out and I looked at as many online publishing platforms as I could find within a month between meetings, and signed up for several of them, used them on my desktop and with my phone and tablet, and Xenia, and then I compiled kind of all the features and made a presentation to the board showing which product had which features, and then suggesting that Xenia was the one that really had all the stuff that we were looking for.
Now, are people going to be able to download this to their tablet?
Yes, so you can download these for offline viewing.
How about this? Say you're a guy that lives in Austin, Texas. Or somewhere in the south of Texas.
I'm a guy who lives in Austin, Texas, or somewhere south of Texas.
And when you're driving around, you feel like reading a magazine. Will you be able to download this to your tablet so that when you're at a stoplight, you can read a magazine?
Yes, yeah, you can do that.
Wow.
And that's all through the app. So it's stored, within the app, And it's like it's other applications, allow you to hold a certain amount of information on the device itself that you choose.
Right.
So you can choose to have things downloaded, ready for you, to take your trip, to commute, to get on the airplane or whatever, and have those issues without having to connect to Wi-Fi or use your data minutes through the cellular connection.
So while we've been talking, while I was waiting for Gordy to take a breath, I downloaded the April issue of Model Railroader on Xenia. I signed up. I registered. It was extremely easy to register.
Yep.
And then I bought the April issue of Model Railroader and downloaded it. And I'm looking at it now as we speak, and it all seems very. I just don't see any place how to download it to a device.
So if you're using a Chrome browser on your desktop, you can download it through Chrome, and this is something that only Chrome offers at this point.
Okay.
So you can download it on your desktop that way, or on your mobile devices, you can download it into the app. So it actually shows you if it's located on your device or if it's in the cloud. Because you can still own things and have it be in the cloud,
right?
And just choose whether to download it or not, depending on whether you've read it or.
So whatever. You're about to get on a plane. You've downloaded the latest issue of the NMRA. What's it called now?
It's the NMRA Magazine.
NMRA Magazine, and you can download it onto your tablet, and you'll be ready to jump on your Southwest plane, looking for Tracy Boyd, the official flight attendant of the EML network, and you jump on the Southwest, and you're careful not to get trampled because they have rush seating on Southwest. And then, boom, you can read that right on your seat as you're flying across the country.
And, I think you really hit the nail on the head that this is something that is pretty easy to do. You're able to do it in just a couple of minutes without any direction or tutorials or anything. And we imagine that that's going to be the case for most of our members. But we're still going to do some tutorial videos that we'll have on our website and on YouTube and in our social media channels, so that people can get comfortable with using it, and if they have any questions, they can look up how to do something in particular.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think you're going to need tutorials, and I think you need to make. Is the plan to have them available on April 1st, so that when Lionel, the goofy guy, goes to download it on his tablet, he hasn't quite figured it out. He can easily go to the NMRA, and it's an easily found tutorial about that.
Absolutely. And it'll be on social media too. So it'll be on our Facebook postings, on Instagram. So yeah, you shouldn't be able to not see it, even if you tried.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think on Gordy's list of commitments, Riley, I think you're already doing these videos. They're being recorded right now, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
There you go.
And how are you on camera, Riley? Does the camera like you or?
Well, I have a face for radio. I do.
Okay. Because that's important. The camera's got to like you. The camera's got to love you.
Well, and of course, it's not about me. So I don't think you'll even see my face. So it won't be an issue.
All right. So it'll be a narrative. It'll be showing you how to do it with a narrative from Riley on the background.
Yes. So it'll be screenshots, and you can see the cursor moving and highlighting where the button is clicked, and then a narrative about how to do things.
Are you a model railroader?
I actually am. Yeah. I didn't just really walk off the street with no knowledge of what was going on.
So tell us about what do you do? Are you HOS? What are you doing?
I like all scales. I'm pretty agnostic when that comes to blows. Anything that's on rail, whether it's one rail, two rails, it doesn't matter to me. 3 rails is fine. But right now I'm modeling an HO scale, and I'm modeling the Port of New York. And so I've got the Hoboken Shore Railroad is one of my main railroads, Lehigh Valley, the Erie Railroad, Pennsylvania, all those East Coast railroads came into the Port of New York. So I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Where'd you grow up?
In Austin, Texas. I'm back in the house that I grew up in. So I'm one of those people that has stayed in one spot, and the world has just kind of revolved around me.
So how does a guy from Austin, Texas, end up modeling Hoboken, New York?
Well, I'm a designer, and so I approached my choice of model railroad much like a designer would any project. I set out my givens and druthers, so my constraints having to do with size and interest, my druthers, the things that I really liked about railroading and model railroading, And so I spent several months just researching model railroads all over the world and coming up with my list of things that I like to do. And one of the main things was when I came across the car floats, I was really intrigued by this idea of these huge, land vehicles going out onto the rivers or into the bays and crossing these large bodies of water and going to these little yards scattered around the port of New York. So that plus lots of big buildings. I'm an architect, so I love buildings. I love doing the structure modeling, and I found that this particular area of the country had so many of the things that I loved about railroading, and it didn't matter that I didn't grow up with it. It was more about how do I satisfy my interests and fit the space that I have and do something that is prototypical and something that I can handle. So it was very much a design problem for me, and I will say that I'm enjoying the heck out of it so far.
How long have you been modeling? Like, have you got a layout underway, kind of thing?
Oh yeah, I began this layout in 2006, I believe, is when I first started researching. And I spent about 4 years researching the railroads, and the Hoboken Shore is, again, kind of the main part of my layout. So, going through museum archives and searching online, going through the New York Public Library archives, trying to find anything I could on what the railroad was, how it ran, and spent a lot of time on eBay too. The first couple of years, I had my searches saved and was getting automatic notifications for things. In fact, I still do. But I found a lot of great information there. There was one real estate report in particular for one of the times that they were selling the railroad, that they had track diagrams, they had photographs, they talked about the tariffs, they listed every industry. So basically, I've been able to gather this information and recreate every switch, every industry, every piece of track that was on that railroad.
Wow! So you're definitely you're a prototype guy then. You're like prototype modeling.
For the most part, yeah. But like I said, I love watching trains no matter what size they are. So
let me ask you a question that I ask everybody, Riley. Now that you've gotten deeply involved with the NMRA, and I'm assuming you're how old? May I ask you how old of a man you are?
I am about to turn 55.
Okay. Have you seen a doctor? No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Is this hobby not way like? What have you learned in the last year when you've become so deeply involved with at the national level of the NMRA, and you've taken on a project of this magnitude? Like, what have you learned about the hobby that you don't think you realized before?
I think it would be probably the passion towards the organization. Of course, everybody who serves in any capacity throughout the NMRA, from division level all the way up to the national offices, have some passion towards the organization part. It's not just being a modeler. It's also wanting to provide a space for modelers to gather, share information, just hang out and chat. And so finding that has probably been the most revelation-airy, if that's a word, bit about the NMRA, that it's really about a group of people that is trying to promote the hobby, trying to make the hobby better for people, trying to enhance the products. And so, feeling like a part of that, here's a worldwide organization that wants to do good, that wants to support the hobby, is just fantastic to be a part of.
Riley, I got good news for you and I got bad news.
Uh-oh.
What would you like first? Let me give you
bad news.
No, let me give you the good news first.
Okay.
At the end of this podcast, you'll be free to go and move about Austin as you see fit.
Okay.
But you're going to have to come back on the podcast.
Oh, that's the bad news, huh?
Yeah. Eventually it'll just grind you down.
Well, Lionel, I have had worse things happen to me, believe it or not.
All right. This is very, very cool. I'm very excited to meet you, and the fact that you've so much embraced and so much want to help push the hobby forward. I mean, I think this hobby I've said it 1,000 times, and I'm assuming, Riley, you've listened to all the podcasts and some of them twice.
Of course.
Absolutely. So I've said it 1,000 times. Man, I think this hobby is like way bigger than anybody realizes.
It is. And I think it's way bigger with the young crowd too.
Yes.
And that's actually been a key component to my willing to become more involved in the organizational side of the hobby. I'm the president of one of our local clubs. It's an HO modular club, and we've had a couple of under 18 members. Some of them have come with their dads, some of them not, and seeing their enjoyment of the hobby at that age. And my wishing that I had a place like that to go when I was that young really spurred me on to, creating that place in the club. And with this digital publication, I think we're going to start reaching that sector of the hobby more. And I think it's a silent sector right now. It's an untapped market, and the people are out there taking photos of prototype trains. They're modeling graffiti, in their dorm room, late at night. There's a lot of energy out there. There's a lot of great modeling going on, and there needs to be a place for those people. And I think, this digital publication is just one avenue to start including them younger in life.
So what have you guys, kind of towards what Bruce was saying there earlier, Gordy, there's a really tough question coming, so you need to prepare yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not now. I'm going to warm you up for.
It's not about Boston, is it?
We'll get to that.
No, we'll get to that.
Okay. We'll get to that. Don't worry. It's something that has to be resurrected. But I think, Bruce, do you not think that the NMRA would be wise in the near future to have a couple of these magazines available to just anyone who stops by the website? Like a past.
What do you mean, like back issues? Yeah, back
like
issues.
a couple of like the proper like
back issues, or like I was saying, the sampler issues where you pick several pages out so they get an idea what it's all about. But
or even if
they're not going to be able to read a whole article.
Is Riley? Would it be possible to have an issue that's free that somehow you could go to the NMRA website? It would point you towards Xenia. You might have to register with Xenia because that's the way they do it. But the magazine there's actually an issue or two that are actually free, and they can see how it works and all that. Is that a possibility?
Yes, that is a possibility.
Okay, so Gordy, I think you should think of that.
It's on the list,
all
but
right.
It's not at the top of the list.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a long list.
So tell us a little bit more, Riley, about the app, if you can. I mean, just quickly. Like I'm very excited to think that I can pick up my phone, and there's going to be. I think it'd be cool to have an AML app, except I think it'd be a lot of work too. I think it'd be very, very cool to have an NMRA app where you could pick up your phone, hit your NMRA app, and you could see events coming up, shows, whatever. Is that kind of the plan?
Those are all possibilities, and that's part of the long list. Yes.
Okay, so it kind of gets so is this a true statement? Because so much can be done in the digital age, you kind of get overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
There may be a little bit of that just because it's new. But I think as we fold that into our regular marketing plans and our other social media platforms, that it just becomes another piece, and I think it'll become a pretty normalized piece. But what it does is it allows us to literally get into the hands of our membership. It's a very direct way of communicating, and I think it's got a lot of possibilities and affords a lot of really neat opportunities for our members.
Okay. So a couple minutes, Gordy. There's a really tough question coming. But first,
Okay.
Riley, now that you're involved at National, I just want to get your opinion on this. In 1986, the National Convention was in Boston, Massachusetts, and the train show was basically a complete disaster. It was held in a parking garage. They only had 700 attendees. It was just a total disaster for the vendors. Do you not feel that the current president has some responsibility to these people to give them some sort of restitution?
I don't know if Gordy was even born in 1986, so I don't know how much responsibility he bears on that.
Well, he is the president of the NMRA, and it was an NMRA thing. So I'm just thinking that the current president would be the one that would be responsible, regardless of whether the man was born or not.
I think he has a responsibility to listen to what whatever people have to say about it.
Okay. All right, Gordy, are you ready?
Can I come back to that previous comment
Sure, go ahead.
and just say that we're actively seeking to recruit a nutty professor who may have a time machine in an old car from the similar era that has to go at 88 mile an hour. And when we find that, then we'll go back and fix Boston.
Okay. So are you ready, Gordy? You're going to enjoy this question, Bruce, because I think it kind of leads into your conversation earlier.
Okay.
In a roundabout way.
Do I need my gloves?
No.
Right, okay.
I'll just smack you with a wet towel.
Okay.
So for years, the NMRA has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars producing this paper magazine. So, can I finish?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, pretty much every year they'd lose like $100,000 producing this paper magazine. And is this now, like, what is the cost? I know you can't give me specifics, although it's a charity, so I guess eventually I could ask. But I mean, what is the cost of something like this for this Xenia thing? Is it, like, does it pencil out?
Yeah. So the Xenia, so what we've had to do with the pricing and stuff, obviously the membership fee's gone up $14 for this. The biggest proportion of that, 90% of that $14, is actually the cost of producing the magazine, the editorial content and the layout, etc. And and Riley will keep me right, but I think it's just under $1 goes towards all the work that's happened with Xenia. So Xenia is extremely affordable. In fact, it's not even $1.
Yeah,
it's about half $1. I don't know what your fancy word is for $0.50, but 50 cents of that 14 goes towards the cost for Xenia. It more than pencils out. Obviously, we're not making a profit because we don't make profits. We're a charity. We're not making a surplus from it. It's covering its costs, and it's not that expensive thing. It's not the expensive part of the process.
So the normal costs will still remain of producing the magazine from an editorial standpoint.
Yeah, but instead of paying the extra, so it's an extra $20 to produce it on paper. So instead of paying the extra $20, if you want to receive it in digital, everyone's receiving it in digital for 50 cents. You're getting the magazine in digital. So the cost of, people say, digital should be cheaper than print. Well, yeah, it is. It's $19.50 cheaper. So, the digital, the cost to do this is negligible.
So what was a membership before with a paper magazine? What was that when you wanted the magazine?
So the membership before was with the paper magazine was $82 in the US.
Right.
Obviously, in the UK, what do I pay?
We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's just stick with the lower 40.
Stick 50, with the lower 40.
No, 50? The whole 50 states. Yeah.
Okay, so $82.
$82, and now it's going to be $68. The membership is your basic membership is going from $50 to $68.
Yep.
But now everybody has access to the magazine in that $68.
Yeah.
And there's a $14 saving, basically, from not having to produce the magazine as a paper copy. Per member, there's a $14 saving.
Effectively, yeah, as a member.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. So that's a huge. So now, will the magazine lose money every year, or are we putting an end to that?
The magazine won't lose money.
So that's pretty cool. Don't you think that's huge? I think that's huge. The magazine's been losing money for years.
The magazine won't lose money. Doing this protects the magazine. It recognises its importance in the organisation. In terms of the producing it in print, that's the cost of producing print. We're not taking print away. The cost of producing print will be looked at each year based on the number of people that subscribe to it, because there's some fixed costs in there. Obviously, some costs are per subscription, but there are some fixed costs there as well. So that may change, but it'll be changed in line with the number of subscribers. So we'll be working as we always have done to make sure that the magazine breaks even.
Okay,
Okay,
Bruce.
let me ask you a question.
Now this is your question.
Okay, I've got two questions. My first question, which I reserve to go back to now, the second one, as a life member, I've been getting the magazine every month.
Yeah.
In fact, I was shocked when the March one actually showed up on March 1st, so I'm not sure what happened to their Canada Post screwed up or something. But anyhow, I now have the option to either stay print or go digital, correct?
Correct.
How do I make my choice to get rid of the print version and go digital?
So
Somewhere on the website I can do that?
No, so that's going to be something that needs to be done through headquarters. So life members will receive both print and digital unless you tell us otherwise, and that goes for everyone around the world. It's always been the case that life members could stop their NMRA magazine, and it's always been the case that NMRA life members can choose to send their magazine to a place of deposit, so a model railroad club or a public reading library. And so you've got those options. You can either stop the print magazine altogether and help the Life Fund. So we won't be taking that money and spending it anywhere else. It will be to help the Life Fund. Or you can choose to have the magazine redirected.
But to do that, I have to contact HQ.
Yeah, because obviously we just need to put that information in at headquarters.
Okay.
So we're not got to...
Who at HQ do we contact then?
Yeah,
NMRA HQ at NMRA.org, and the ladies will arrange it for you.
Tell them, give them my membership number. Tell them I only want to receive digital. Then
yeah,
that's it.
Okay. Yeah, you're not going to get many people doing that. So shouldn't you put some sort of easy way of doing it on the website?
Well, there's only 2,400 life members anyway. The easiest
we're
way.
An endangered species.
Yeah, but I would imagine producing 2,400 magazines is pretty costly in paper. It's a problem. I can't imagine it's cheap.
Yeah, but the Life Fund covers it, and so it's a choice. We're not forcing this upon people. It's a choice that will be there. It'll be part of our messaging to life members to make sure they're informed of their choices and their options. But it will be through the headquarters because there are other priorities. There are other priority projects for the web team, and that by the time they would get around to doing that, people would have already wanted to express that choice. So it's simply a case of there's lots of things we'd like to do. There isn't an infinite resource of volunteers. So we've got to prioritize, and sometimes that means compromising on the way we would prefer to do things. And this will just be one of them. There is a if you don't want to use the email, there is a contact us form on the website that you can use that will go to headquarters as well. So
okay, can you just throw another in the next NMRA e-bulletin? Make note of that for those who wish to. Here's just so everybody's aware of it.
We will do that after the magazine goes out. So, yeah, Perfect. So by the time you're listening to this, yes, it probably will be the next one because the bulletin goes out in May, beginning of May. And we'll probably put it in then.
All right. Now back to my question from before.
Earlier.
we have the NMRA, which is let's say United States and territories or whatever. Then we have NMRA Canada. We have the British region and the Australian or Australasian region, whatever they call it. I know NMRA. How are they going to be handling this new magazine thing? Because I know right now, a membership in NMRA Canada, I think we pay $30 a year plus the magazine on top if we want it, which is considerably different than what they're paying in the U.S. And we've heard Australia's declined to go with it just because. Of some of the costs involved, and we're not sure what they're doing over in the British region. So, how are these going to be handled?
So what we're talking about here is what we term our franchisee regions. So you may hear us say ABCE and things like that, and everyone goes, "What are you talking about?" But ABC just stands for Australia, Britain, Canada, and Europe. So what we're doing for them is the $14 fee is being added to their rebate that they make a franchise fee rebate back to headquarters, and they then choose to charge in local currency a membership fee to members in that country, and that is different in each country because they have different ways of administering their own local region. but they are paying US dollars a membership fee back to national headquarters in Tennessee, and so each region's doing something slightly different. We'll talk about the Aussies if we can just now. The leadership in Australia at the time when we were putting this out last year chose to not take the digital magazine because it's an all or nothing, and the Australians have a probably 50-50 split now of people that model North American versus modeling Australian prototypes, and they didn't feel there was enough content, or there was a group, should we say, in Australia that felt there wasn't enough content in the digital magazine for all of their members to be happy taking it, and it would have meant a significant increase in their membership fee. So as they saw it, it's still $14, but for them that would have meant their membership going from 30 Australian to 50 Australian dollars. And so the decision was made to offer the franchise regions an opt-out. It's not something we could have offered to the United States. It's simply because they are a franchisee that we offered that to them. And they in Australia chose to opt out. So wholesale, every member in Australia, apart from the life members, will not have access to log into the NMRA magazine desktop or mobile app.
Is there going to be some ways somebody chooses they want to get the digital that they can, or is it because the decision is made they will never have that option?
No, it's not that they will never have that option. So the decision's been made by their regional leadership that they elected. There's been a change of regional leadership in Australia since this was debated, and I believe they want to get back around the table. So it may well happen, but it's a decision that regional leadership needs to take. We respect fully at national the rights and freedoms of the ABC regions, and they have a choice to run their region as they see fit, and it's not for us to impose upon them any particular way of doing things.
So are you saying me as a Canadian member, I can't get the digital copy of the magazine?
No, I was just talking about Australia.
Okay.
So let's talk about Canada, and unless Bruce has another question, let's talk about Canada and the UK.
No, let's. This is my question pertained to all three.
Okay, so we'll move on to the UK and Canada. So in the UK and Canada, you will get the digital magazine as part of your membership. The individual regions will be writing to members and they'll be updating their website. Of course, if you renew before the 1st of April, which this podcast is going out after the 1st of April, so it's okay for me to say it now, then you will still get the digital magazine as soon as it becomes available. You'll use the login that you use for the NMRA website, which I know, Lionel, you did on an earlier podcast.
I did.
You managed to log in. So to see the candidate statements, well, that's where you'll go to see the NMRA app, and also use that information to get into the mobile app, although there may be a transition period where we need you to set up an account with Xenia, but you'll just use the same email address and it'll be fine. And you'll have access to the digital magazine. So the membership fee, the base membership fee, is going up in the UK and in Canada. And obviously in the US, it'll be probably staying the same in Australia. But you'll all be getting the digital magazine and the mobile app, as everything that Riley's talked about today. And in the UK, I don't know what Canada's doing. I think Canada's just applying the whole thing. But if you think about it, right now, it will mean a saving on print no matter where you are in the world. In the UK, it currently costs $140 for the print magazine. With exchange rates, etc., that was looking at going up to $155. So Gordy pays $155 to be a member of the NMRA. I could, at the moment, pay for free members or memberships in the US if I lived in the US without the magazine. So we pay a lot because of the shipping, mostly. It's not to do with probably producing it, because the thing costs the same thing to produce. It's the shipping. So the UK region has decided to part fund the increase. So British region members will see the increase over 2 years. And so I can't remember exactly what the fee is, but when we renew this year, it'll be that we renew at about £32, something like that. Currently it's 29, and we'll get access in the UK British region to 6 editions of the British region magazine digitally and 12 of the NMRA magazine. And we think it'll be a fantastic benefit for our members in the British region, because only about 50 people still take the print magazine because it costs so much. And for the whereas just to finish that point, whereas 5-10 years ago it was significantly more people before the cost of global shipping went through the roof. In Canada, a large proportion of members in Canada take the print magazine, and so they'll be able to take the digital magazine and get a saving on their membership as well. So, for everybody around the world, there's a benefit here. Unfortunately, the Australians didn't see it as that, and we absolutely respect their right to self-determination, that they wish to do that. That's fine. The door's always open, so the way that we've left it with our Australian colleagues is that the door's open if they wish to come back and reevaluate that position. Anytime the door's open, we can talk about it. But it's once the decision's made that Australia comes into the digital magazine, and I have every belief that will happen in some form in the future, then that's the decision made. It's not a reversible decision at that point. So
could we not put some of the...
I'm just looking right now, NMRA Canada, 1 year, $30. If you want to add the magazine, $65 on top of that, so $95 for a year. So come April, there'll be a rejigging, and I'm assuming then the membership costs in Canada will go up slightly, and then there'll still be an option, but it might be less than $65 for the print version.
So there'll still be an option, right? Okay, so the digital version will be somewhere in the middle. I can't work out the Canadian US dollar exchange rate. It'll be somewhere in the middle. The print magazine will probably increase slightly in cost because we're anticipating a smaller circulation of print globally, so the price has gone up slightly. So it'll be more than $65 for print.
So the price in Canada is going to go up for your general membership, and you're going to be able to get have access to the digital copy of the magazine. And if you want to get the print one, it's still going to go up. It's going to go up a little bit more, but that's just for people that want the print magazine.
That's right.
Now, could we not put some of this money, this extra money that we're getting for the digital from the British region and the Canadian region, could we not put some of that extra money that's the NMRA is going to be getting towards some of those vendors from Boston in '86?
Well, we could have done if we'd increased the cost to cover that, but we haven't. So, we can do some other things. So we're looking at.
Can you do anything without increasing the cost?
Yeah, we've done loads of things. We've delivered an NMRA app on top of delivering the magazine without increasing the cost. We could have just. Well, hang on.
Can I talk to Riley again? Is Riley still here, or did he leave?
I'm still here.
Okay. What's so after you get this magazine thing all done and you get a few months under your belt? What's up next? What's Riley working on now? What's Riley working on that's going to be next after you, or are you just going to sit there eating bonbons every month, and for a few hours you're going to organize this, and that's it? That's all you're going to do?
Well, that sounds really good, but probably won't happen. There's another list of things to do having to do with publications in the NMRA. So I imagine I'll stay pretty busy. Can
you give us a hint, or is it a secret?
It's undetermined at this point. So nothing really to talk about at this point.
Well, okay. How much work do you have to put into doing the NMRA app? Who's doing the NMRA app? Is it you, Riley, or is it somebody else?
I'm project managing it, but we've got designers and app developers at Xenia who are actually doing the coding and putting the work together.
App developers. Xenia seems like it's pretty cost effective, is it?
It is, and like Gordy alluded to earlier, some really big magazines, Time Magazine, National Geographic, House and Garden, all of these big magazine companies have seen this value in Xenia and have used them for distributing digitally.
Yeah, so while we were talking, so then I went, I flipped through all the pages of Model Railroader, the April issue of Model Railroader, and by the way, in Trains of Thought is a whole article there about our very own Uncle Dave Ableys and his son Pete. So anyways, I'm going through, so I got to the end, and then it asked me if I wanted to archive it, and I started to panic because it was like no thanks or archive, and I went, oh my God, what do I want to do? So I hit archive, and then I went back to the homepage of Xenia, and I looked under archive, and there it is.
Yep, simple as that.
It's very simple app. I love apps that are simple to use. Why aren't all programs simple to use?
It takes a lot of work to make something simple.
Okay. Didn't take that much work to make me simple. And I think I pretty much came out of the box that way. So okay, you can't tell us, you can't give us an idea of what's exciting coming up or anything. I mean, this is
Well, we're all consumed here, Lionel. I don't think you understand how many hours we're putting into this
well,
right now.
that's what
So,
I'm kind of. That's why I'm kind of
Yeah.
working away at. I'm kind of interested. People are interested in the procedure and the whole nine. I mean, you got to understand from our standpoint. I mean, I've been beaten. I've the podcast. Like I know you know that the podcast started in August of 2014, but for the first 6 years, it was like, why don't we have a digital magazine? And we were constantly told, no, you can't have a digital magazine. It's too much work. And now all of a sudden we're talking to a guy that says, yeah, it takes me 5 or 6 hours a month. Like,
well, our world has changed since then. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. These online publishing houses, have flourished recently. Just the way everything is going, the digital realm and the digital world is just growing leaps and bounds as we speak. So I think that makes a lot more things possible. And then I think as costs go up, otherwise with physical things like paper and printing and all of that, it just makes it more of an imperative to have that digital option for things. And so the world has changed since you started your podcast.
Okay, let me try. Let me go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, and mainly that's because of you. I think your podcast has really changed the world, Lionel.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. Don't you agree, Bruce?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I will kind of foreshadow some things though, because the app and the digital platform make it easy to publish things. It makes it a lot cheaper to publish things. It makes it a lot easier to distribute. Makes it a lot easier for people to find them. It makes it a lot easier for people to use them.
Okay.
So you can imagine reference materials that you can have in an app or on your desktop that you can search. You don't have to flip through the index or try to dog ear pages of a magazine or anything like that. So the information that you do publish now becomes much more useful, and you can publish more of it and be able to use it more effectively. So I think that hints at some of the things that the NMRA has done in the past could find its way into the digital realm and become a very useful tool for the average modeler.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question that I think is on everybody's mind as we trudge forward into the future. Where do you see the model railroading press go? And I'm not asking you to say anything specifics, but I mean, do you feel like paper magazines will always have a place, and magazines in general? Do you feel that magazines will always have a place? Do you feel like eventually, because it seems like you've spent a good portion of your life since you were 8 years old grading papers for, would you say Texas University?
Yeah, the University of Texas. Yes.
Yeah. I can't help getting out of my head. There's some guy, in Split Lip, Wyoming, working at a gas station thinking, I don't understand why I get such a poor mark on that one particular project back at the University of Texas. And it was you all along that was the guy that marked it.
Yeah. And he'll never know my name, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, you were holding the future of many people's lives right there in the palm of your 8-year-old hand. That's pretty exciting when you think about it.
It is. And, my life has gone downhill ever since, I guess.
So it sounds like it sounds like this is as much of interest to you as doing this magazine and making it digital. So where do you see the future of, what do you see as the best way for the hobby of model railroading to go forth in the realm of digital information? I mean, this is a very long-winded question, but I mean, I'm fascinated by it because I often say on the podcast, yeah, I didn't see this coming. I saw me thinking, I'm going to try this. See, maybe a dozen of my buddies will listen to it. Like, I didn't end up seeing that we'd end up where we are. So, I mean, I know we're all kind of flying blind, but you must have some thoughts about that.
Well, actually, it kind of fits into my research trajectory when I was teaching full-time at university. My interests were in kind of melding the physical and digital worlds that we live in. We have this real bifurcated life of email, websites, doing everything online. And then we have the physical world that we're used to, walking around in and being able to touch and smell and see things. And my interest was, how do you combine those two so that each augments the other and makes the other one better. And I think this is a real good example of how we have new tools available to us in the digital world that some of them may take the place of physical tools, of analog tools, but more likely they're going to enhance those tools, and they're going to make working in the physical realm much better, easier, faster, all those sorts of things that technology can do. But one of the other things that technology does is it makes more things possible, right? It usually doesn't make things simpler. It makes things more possible. So when the VCR came out, the flashing 12, right? Suddenly your life became very complicated because you didn't know how to change the clock on this digital device that was now sitting in your living room mocking you with that flashing 12. But what it did is it, provided a way to stop time and to replay time and, to look at the programs, at a different time period during the day, the week, or whatever. And so suddenly you had more possibilities in your life for when you could view a certain program. So I see this digital realm as being a way that we can augment things that are going on in our analog life, and not necessarily replacing them, but certainly enhancing and providing more opportunities. And it's very much like all the other technologies that we use. We still have books. We still have radio. Radio has kind of turned into podcasts, but there's still radio stations out there. Radio stations have migrated to the internet. So, you've got satellite radio, right, that is beamed directly into your cars, or you can view it on the website. So radio hasn't gone away. It's just, evolved and it's changed. And yet it's still there in its original form as well. So, I see, again, with our NMRA magazine, we're not discarding the paper. There's some people who prefer paper and enjoy the benefits of being able to roll it up and take it with them to the porch or on a walk or whatever. And the digital is just going to be an augmentation of that. It's going to be an additional thing that allows more possibilities. So now you can pack it on an airplane. You don't have to have 4 or 5 magazines in your carry-on, which I used to do when I went on vacations. So I've traded that for my phone, and I've got a lighter carry-on, and life is much happier. So I don't think that it's going to stop a lot of things that we're doing, but it's going to make a lot more things possible.
Okay, that's cool. I think I understand that. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's so cool that I just literally, while you guys were talking, I wanted to try Xenia because I had. It's been around for quite a few years, has it not?
It has.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and I guess it's obviously improved dramatically since its inception.
Yeah, they're continuously adding features. And in fact, one of the features that they're working on right now that we hope to have very soon is that searchable feature across issues. So that, now if you're, a Santa Fe modeler, you can get on the Xenia app and search all of the NMRA magazines that we have up there going back to October 2020 at this point. You can search for the Santa Fe Railroad. You can search for Santa Fe stock cars, and you'll get a list of articles that have that embedded in there somewhere. So now suddenly you've got reference material that you can instantly access and bend to your needs and bend to your will. And it's much easier than having some index that you're trying to work with and searching through paper magazines on a bookshelf or in a box. So again, it's going to make more things possible. So yeah, Xenia is continually improving their product. They use their product too, so they're looking for opportunities to make things better. So I think it's going to be a real good place for us.
This has been fascinating, and I guess so. I'm assuming, listening to you, I guess your job for the NMRA, as far as the digital magazine goes, your job is to make sure you understand exactly what Xenia does. Your job is to stay up to date on anything that changes in the digital world of publishing. That's kind of your bailiwick. Is anytime you guys have a meeting, if a question comes up about digital magazines, Riley's the guy that's gonna know what there is to know.
Yep, that is the job that I've fallen into, and it's fun. It's something that I've been involved with in some form or fashion, both in the physical magazines and books and things that I've worked on that way, in the digital realm as well. So so I'm going to be the guy for a while anyway.
Wow, very cool. It's very cool that you're excited to be. Like, I think part of the fun for talking to you, I mean, we'll wrap this up now because the network only allows us so much time. But, I mean, it's very fun to realize that you didn't just step into, you didn't just like, okay, I know how to do this. You've been a volunteer in the NMRA for years. So, I mean, you're an experienced guy so it's very fun it's great to, and you and I were talking when we were testing out audio. I mean, isn't this the greatest part of this digital, one of the great parts of this digital age is having model railroading in common. And then you and I, after a 10-minute conversation online, felt like we could easily go out to lunch together and enjoy each other's company because we got past the first date jitters.
Absolutely. And, hopefully our NMRA app and, digital presence can do a similar thing with people who don't even know about the NMRA and, have that entree, have that window, have that first contact with people who are interested in the hobby, but don't necessarily know about the NMRA.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think I'll edit that part out. Gordy, I highly recommend that you. I don't have a vote. I don't have a position on the board. I don't have any kind of clout. But I highly recommend that you have at least one and preferably two past issues easily available to people so that they can do the whole Xenia thing and understand what they're getting. Because I think that would be a huge advantage for the NMRA.
Oh, absolutely, and that's absolutely what we're doing. We're just, we will be doing that. Will it be there on day one? Maybe not, because the deadline is tight. I mean, geez, let's set everyone a pretty hard, tall order here. I mean, there's hundreds of hours of work going in on this. So they've got to hit the deadline. Nothing is being allowed to get in the way of us hitting that deadline. So yes, we will be doing it. It will be going on. There will be some, just like we did with just like we did with the survey. We will have something there that people can look at, and that will be what we're working towards. And as Riley said, the decision has been made that digital is the way that we're going with our publications. There's no end to that.
Well,
so. Asking us what's coming next. Well, that's what's coming. So imagine to your heart's content within the realms of how publications are going to be available digitally.
I think I just realized, Riley, what I was trying to say to you earlier there a few minutes ago. Thanks a bunch. Thanks a lot for stepping up to the plate and being the guy that takes this job on. I mean, I know you got lots of help. I know you got lots of people you're working with, and thanks to all those people too. But honest to goodness, thanks a lot. As a member of the NMRA, thank you so much for putting in all this effort and improving the NMRA as much as you have. And thank you, Gordy. I mean, you already know what I think of you. I think you're awesome. I love you, Gordy. Thanks a lot, Riley. Thanks, buddy.
Well, you're quite welcome. And I enjoy doing it. And I think the more people kind of see this part of the NMRA and understand what can be done, and that the sky is actually the limit if you just put your shoulder to the wheel, that we can do great things. So I'm just doing my part.
Do you think you love Gordy as much as I do?
I think I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, I need more FaceTime with him though. That's the only problem with his being way over in Scotland.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's nothing like There's nothing like being in a Hooters with Gordy and watching.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
And pretty quickly realizing, no, I can't keep up with that guy. What do you think, Bruce?
I am so excited about what is about to come upon the NMRA. And I know there'll be piles of people that are absolutely stunned and amazed and will be totally pleased of the way this is going. And, it just shows that, rather than saying it can't be done, well, why can't we do it? Can we do it? And let's do it.
Yeah. Man, oh, man. Hats off to you guys. Hats off to all the guys that are working with you guys and everybody. I know Gert Muller there, Speed's out there working hard. I know John Doring's working hard. I know lots of the board, many of the board of directors. How am I going to say this? The board of directors is working hard too. How about that?
There you go.
And Hats off to you guys. Bruce, can you give out our email address?
Yes, our email address. Please let us know what you think, any thoughts, and if you've got questions for Gordy, you can send them to us and we can get them to him for a future talk when we grill Gordy part 3 or 4, whatever it may be. Our email address, modelerslife@gmail.com. Modelers with one L, modelerslife@gmail.com.
That would be a whole new series, eh? Let's grill Gordy. I love
grill
that.
him with Gordy.
Yeah, grill. No, I like Let's Grill Gordy.
Let's grill Gordy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know where that was going.
yeah. I'm good. Yeah, I don't want you to get Riley. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I fully intend to, as the years go by, to continually beat Gordy like a rented mule.
Well, I've heard that he enjoys it, so I think you got to keep it up.
Riley, have you ever had the desire to have a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
That is the one thing that is missing in my life.
Well,
Have we got news for you?
Yeah. If you go to Midwest Model Railroad, they are in Independence, Missouri, right there, not far from downtown Kansas, Missouri, or Kansas City. Right there in Independence, Missouri is Midwest Model Railroad. They are a 13,000 square foot model railroad shop. And if you go to their website, which is midwestmodelrr.com, and scroll across the navigation bar to AML, boom, you are going to be in a wonderland of hats, hoodies, T-shirts, mugs, of all sorts of AML merchandise. And in amongst that AML merchandise, you can get a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
How have I not known about this in my entire life?
I don't know. Yeah, it's especially somebody like you that's so connected to the digital age. I'm surprised that you don't know about it. It's really a kind of a shock.
Well, now I do.
Yeah, then you do. And have you ever had the desire to listen to twice as much podcasting as you can from the AML?
Of course.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, if you go to our website, first thing you're going to see, one of the first things you're going to see is, if you didn't catch the email address, there is a picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's the URL for our website?
It's amodelerslife.com.
There we go.
Yeah. Jeff Schultz is always kind of perturbed at me because I didn't get that for the email address. Email address.
Gotta keep people on their toes, and that's why we made it easy for them on the website.
Yeah, and the thing that threw me was I was convinced that when I was inventing the podcast that the A part would become long gone and just an afterthought, and it would the whole thing would be referred to as simply Modeler's Life. But I think, Bruce, in retrospect, I think the fact that the A stayed around is pretty much your fault.
There you go.
Because you invented the acronym AML.
There you go.
And that stuck like that was perfect. The AML network.
So I know your T-shirts. I think when we put the digital magazine out there, we should get a T-shirt of you sitting with a tablet reading the NMRA magazine, and just have some text under it that said, "They said it couldn't be done."
There you go. I like that.
There
you go. Or better yet, a picture of Gordy reading the NMRA magazine.
Well, you got a T-shirt for all sizes. I mean, I don't fit on. That might not work with a small T-shirt.
Yeah.
I'll be on the back and on the front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's it. And so if anybody wants this this is on the free channel. This will be an episode. It's either on the first Monday or the third Monday of a particular month. I'm guessing May. Shortly after the digital magazine has come out. So if you've got the digital magazine in the NMRA and you've got comments, make sure you send them into the email, and we'll track Gordy down and make him answer all those questions. And I think but if you want twice as much podcasting, you just click on the Patreon link, and boom, for just 365 payments of 16 cents a day, you too can have twice as much podcasting each week, Monday and Tuesday. And I think we've pretty much covered it all.
I think we've done it.
That was very exciting. I'm very, very excited about this, Riley.
I am too. I can't wait for it to happen, and I think everybody else is going to be really pleased with the results.
So at the appropriate time, do you think you can say Happy Rails to you?
I can do that.
Yeah, there's no singing. There's no interpretation. It's not dance. It's strictly you just say Happy Rails to you.
Let me know when you want it.
Okay. Well, Riley, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say...
Happy Rails to you.
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of A Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.